Welcome to the deep dive. So, if you feel like your schedule basically runs, if your days are just this blur of email, meetings, always wishing for more hours, well, this deep dive, it's pretty much made for you.
Yeah, we're plunging into a whole stack of material here, all tackling that one resource you can't get more of
Yeah,
your time.
exactly.
And the core idea we pulled out, it's almost counterintuitive. Successful people, they're not necessarily working harder or faster. Not really.
Okay.
They just manage the direction of their time much better. That's how they stay focused, cut down stress, and, make that steady, high-impact progress day after day.
Right, direction over just sheer speed. Okay, let's unpack this. So the mission today is really about shifting how you fundamentally view productivity. It's not about quick hacks to just seem busy. It's more like self-mastery, moving from being scattered and always reacting
Reactive.
to being focused.
Intentional.
Exactly. And the foundational insight, it really hinges on distinguishing between motion and progress. Big difference.
Motion versus progress. Okay. We often mistake just being busy, the motion, for actually getting somewhere meaningful. But the sources, they point out, if you spend all day doing stuff, but never actually check if it aligns with your values, your big goals.
That is spinning your wheels, basically.
Pretty much. You might just be creating a really efficient path to somewhere you don't even want to go.
Wow. Yeah. That's a pretty sharp critique of that whole hustle culture thing, isn't it? Where exhaustion feels like a win.
It does.
So, okay, if alignment is the real goal, not just busyness, where do these successful folks start? How do they grab that control? The material seems to keep coming back to the morning, that first hour.
Yes. The quiet power of the first hour. And look, this is strategic. It's not just some trend like waking up at 4 a.m. because you saw it online.
Right, not just for show.
No, it's about carving out a time slot where the world basically has zero demands on you yet. The sources really hammer this home that early morning time. It might be the only guaranteed period you have for real clarity before everything else starts pulling at you. Emails, family, news.
The daily onslaught.
Exactly.
I find the idea of discipline here really interesting. Usually we think discipline means restriction, right? Like this is negative. But the sources frame owning your mornings as, well, as a type of freedom. How does that work?
Well, because discipline over your morning routine, it becomes discipline over your thoughts. And that translates directly into discipline over your life. Think about it. If you wake up and the very first thing you do is grab your phone.
Which so many of us do.
Right. You're basically letting external stuff dictate your internal state from minute one. You start the day anxious, reactive, completely unfocused. Successful people use that first hour to set their own internal rhythm, to reclaim that mental space. They move from potential chaos to calm, to purpose.
Okay, setting the internal tone. And what are they actually doing in that precious hour? You mentioned this difference between consuming and creating. That seems key.
Oh, it's critical. They absolutely do not start by opening social media. They don't read the news headlines. They definitely don't jump into email.
Resisting the urge.
They resist consuming other people's demands first thing. Instead, they focus on creating. Maybe they open a journal. Maybe they review their top 3 goals for the year. Maybe they just sit quietly for 5 minutes. The point is, they ask themselves something like, what's the single most important thing I need to create or move forward today? Even that small shift puts them back in the driver's seat.
But what about someone listening who feels totally overwhelmed already? Isn't adding another structured routine just more pressure? What if they mess up the morning routine?
That's a totally fair point. And the material does warn against that rigidity trap. The goal isn't perfection, it's consistency.
Okay.
You don't need some massive life change overnight. The sources stress that even just 30 minutes earlier than you wake up now, if you protect it consistently, that can be a fundamental reset. That little window of quiet for planning or just personal growth, that's the discipline. And it's actually pretty forgiving if you miss a day.
30 minutes. That feels achievable. Okay, so let's say you've managed to carve out that morning space, found some clarity, set a direction. Now the challenge is the rest of the day, right?
Right.
How do you stop the world from just crushing those intentions? Which brings us, I guess, to planning with focus.
Precisely. A productive day isn't luck, it's design. And that design process starts with getting crystal clear. What specific result are you aiming for today? Because if you don't define that for yourself...
Someone else will define it for you.
Absolutely. Every email, every meeting invite becomes a potential hijacker for your schedule.
So to fight back against that pull towards the urgent but maybe unimportant stuff, the sources talk a lot about this top 3 priority system.
Yeah.
But isn't this where people often go wrong? They list 3 things, but they're all kind of small tasks.
They do. That's the common mistake, confusing busy work with real high leverage action. Your top three, they have to be the few things that, if you actually got them done, would make the whole day feel like a win, a real win.
Regardless of whatever else happens.
Exactly. And you choose them based on lasting impact. Stuff that genuinely moves your big goals forward, like
Well,
finishing that project draft, having that difficult but necessary conversation, doing some deep analysis, not just, clearing your inbox.
got it. So these are the non-negotiables chosen for impact, not just urgency.
Yep.
Okay. How do we then protect time for those priorities amidst the flood of meetings and smaller tasks?
Right. This is where time blocking becomes less of a nice idea and more of a defensive strategy. People sometimes resist it because they picture this super rigid calendar and it feels confining.
Yeah, suffocate it.
But the material explains it's actually the opposite. It's freeing because it cuts down on decision fatigue. You just look at your calendar block and you do the thing. You're not constantly deciding what to do next among competing demands.
But life happens, right? The unexpected phone call, the urgent request from your boss. If you block everything out rigidly, doesn't the whole system just fall apart the first time something unexpected happens?
Ugh, that's the nuance that a lot of generic advice misses. But these sources cover. Successful time blockers, they schedule buffer time.
A buffer time. Okay.
Yeah, they deliberately leave maybe 20–30% of the workday unblocked, or just labeled as flex time or white space. That space is there specifically to handle the inevitable curveballs.
So you can absorb the interruptions without derailing the big stuff.
Exactly. It builds resilience right into your schedule. You expect the unexpected, in a way.
That makes so much more sense. Scheduling flexibility within the structure.
Okay. And tying into that scheduling strategy is this idea of matching the type of work to your natural energy levels throughout the day.
Yes, this brings biology into it. Your brain isn't just uniformly on all day long, right?
Definitely not. I know mine isn't.
Right. So the research we looked at shows that high performers, they figure out their peak cognitive hours. Usually it's like a 2 to 4 hour window, often in the morning. But it depends on your chronotype, if you're naturally an early bird, a lark, or more of a night owl. So the early birds, the larks, should probably tackle their hardest thinking work first thing.
That's the strategy. Protect those fresh premium morning hours for the deep work, the complex problem solving, the serious thinking. And then you kind of relegate the lower value stuff, routine emails, admin tasks, easy meetings to your lower energy periods, maybe late afternoon.
Makes sense.
When you align those top three priorities with your strongest mental energy windows, your output, both quality and speed, it just multiplies. You're genuinely working smarter, not just putting in more hours.
Okay, smarter, not harder, powered by energy management. But all of this, the morning clarity, the focus planning, the energy matching, it all depends on attention. Which brings us to the third big theme, the battle against distractions.
It really is a battle. Distractions, whether it's the phone buzzing or just your own thoughts jumping between 10 different things, they just fracture your focus. They kill your rhythm. We have to understand that deep work, that focused concentration that leads to real breakthroughs and progress, it requires a mind that's running smoothly, consistently, not bouncing all over the place. You just can't do deep work if your attention is scattered and shallow.
And the sources, they seem really firm on multitasking, calling it an illusion. That's still something people brag about, though. Why so harsh?
Because the data is just overwhelming. What feels like multitasking is really rapid task switching. And that switching, it has a significant cognitive cost.
Like a mental penalty.
Exactly. Research consistently shows there's this cognitive switching cost when you jump between complex tasks. It leads to an average drop of something like 40% in efficiency and accuracy.
40%.
Yeah. So when you think you're juggling two things well, you're probably doing both of them poorly and taking way longer than if you just focused on one at a time. The commitment really needs to be towards single tasking.
Wow. Okay, that 40% number alone is reason enough to change habits. So if single tasking is the goal, how do we actually protect our focus?
Yeah.
Especially from our devices, the constant digital pull.
You have to treat your focus like the incredibly valuable asset it is. The steps are straightforward, but they take discipline. Turn off all non-essential notifications. Every single one.
Ouch. But necessary.
Necessary. Keep your phone physically out of sight, maybe in another room or a drawer during your focused work blocks. Use technology only when it serves a specific strategic purpose for your goal, not just because you feel an urge to check something or escape the task at hand.
Digital boundaries. And then there were the human boundaries. This superpower of knowing how and when to say no. strategically. This is where I think a lot of us stumble, right? We sacrifice our focus because we want to be helpful or liked.
Mm-hmm. This is a really powerful psychological piece from the sources. Saying yes when you really mean no, or when you know you don't have the capacity, it's not actually kindness. It's a form of self-betrayal. And honestly, it's dishonest to the other person, too.
Huh? Dishonest. That's a strong word.
Well, think about it. You're committing to something you can't deliver well on, or that will compromise your other commitments. Learning to say no respectfully, clearly. That's an act of profound self-respect. It shows you value your own time and priorities.
It sounds simple on paper, but in the moment, when someone's asking for your help, it feels hard. Do the sources give any actual phrases, like graceful ways to say no?
Yes, they offer some really effective, simple scripts that don't need a ton of apology or justification. Things like, I really appreciate you thinking of me for this, but I can't commit to that right now. Or just to clear, my plate is completely full for the next couple of weeks.
Simple and direct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And here's the crucial mindset shift they emphasize. If someone pushes back after you've set a firm, respectful boundary, that pushback reflects their expectations or their issues. It's not a failure of your boundary. Your job is to protect your focus, not manage their potential disappointment.
That's like psychological armor right there. Okay, so let's recap. We've covered owning that first hour, designing the day around those high-impact top 3 priorities, and then protecting that focus with fierce boundaries, digital and human. What's the final takeaway? How did this all come together for the listener?
The core message is that mastering your time isn't about finding some complex system or the perfect app. It's built on ruthless consistency with these foundational habits.
Consistency, not complexity.
Right. Taking those principles, the intentional morning, the focus blocks, the strong boundaries, and making them daily non-negotiables. But there's one more piece that's critical for making this stick long term, and that's reflection.
Ah, the idea of not just moving forward, but moving forward with awareness.
Precisely. Most people just keep going, repeating the same unproductive patterns day after day. Successful people, the sources show, build in a regular reflection practice, maybe weekly, maybe even daily, asking tough questions like, did my actions today actually align with my top 3? Did I spend my best energy on high-impact work, or did I get lost in the noise? Because without that reflection, you can't course correct. You just guarantee you'll make the same mistakes again tomorrow.
Okay, so putting it all together, the clarity, the single tasking, the boundaries, the reflection, it suggests that the gap between where you are now and where you want to be, it isn't this huge chasm you have to fill with frantic hustle or just waiting for motivation to strike.
Not at all. It's filled by intentional action. Action that actually becomes easier once you have clarity.
Easier through clarity.
Yeah, that feeling of being overwhelmed. It often comes from trying to do way too much stuff that just doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. When you stop reacting to every little thing and start focusing only on the few right actions, the whole energy shifts. It goes from feeling like a frantic scramble to feeling like focused, powerful progress.
So we'll leave you, the listener, with the ultimate question here, drawn right from the philosophy in these sources. Every day, really every moment, you face a choice. Are you just reacting to life as it happens to you? Or are you actively creating it, one intentional choice, one high-leverage hour at a time?
The choice is yours. Start choosing.